Good morning and welcome to episode number 79 of Business Unusual Prospecting Through Uncertainty. Today we are going to talk through how to create a lead magnet, or also known as a compelling, irresistible offer that engages your perfect prospect in your funnel. Okay, so as we dive into this today, I'm going to go quickly through the information that we're going to talk about. And then I am also going to have a worksheet available if you would like to send me an email. I am delighted to share it with you. So as you listen to the recording, just message me and I will get it over to you so that you can work on building your own lead magnet. Now, if you're a sales professional, you're probably asking, why on earth do I need a lead magnet? I'm not in marketing. I'm not building a list. What I want you to think about for just a minute is the purpose of a lead magnet is if you think about the buyer journey that prospects typically go through. What happens if you encounter them when that prospect is starting to raise their hand and say, all right, I am ready to start exploring solutions? They're actually over 2/3 of the way through that buyer journey, and you were just now meeting them at the tail end. Now, unfortunately, when you do that, you are basically encountering them at a spot in that relationship where they already have information that may be incorrect, they may be biased, they may have just assumptions in their head that aren't accurate according to what you can really offer in their situation. So what I would like for you to think about is being out there where people can encounter you earlier. So if you think about what the buyer journey looks like, what typically people think about as the buyer journey is it's when they actually engage with a prospect. And the problem is when the buyer journey really begins is back at the conception of an issue that's happening in their business. So it's going on before that business leader even really understands that he or she has a problem. And then things start percolating or they start falling apart. And then at that point is when they may start looking around and trying to diagnose what's going on in their business. Way before they ever start evaluating, do I actually need to go find a solution and encounter you? When you put together content and you focus on creating a list, what that does is that puts you into a funnel with a lot of people when they are early in that process, so that you are the one that they begin to view as an authority on that topic. So the reason why it's important for you to incorporate this marketing strategy in what you're doing, even if you are in B2B sales, it's important for you to engage with these prospects early so that, again, you can start that journey that could be 8 to 22 interactions before they decide, hey, you're my resource that I want to go to. So with that, the purpose of today's presentation is I am going to walk you through how you as a B2B seller or knowledge worker or consultant, and name your expertise. You can be a financial advisor, a banker, you can be an attorney or an accountant, and everything that I'm talking about today applies to you. So what I want you to do is stay with me. I'm going to walk you through what you need to consider as you create your lead magnet or offer that you are going to make. And the offer is not so much thinking about it like a product. It's more of an experience that potential buyer can have with you that helps them recognize why you are a resource that they need to consider working with, and then help them evaluate in their decision-making process what working with you is going to look like. So, you with me? All right. Do me a quick favor and chat in the comments and let me know whether or not you currently have any lead magnets in your marketing toolkit. because that's kind of an important thing for us to, first of all, take a look at is whether or not you have one. And if you do, we can talk about how to refine it. And then if you don't, it's going to be a little bit of a different conversation as far as the how to construct it or build it. So do me a quick favor, chat that in, let me know where you're at, what you're focusing on, and where you're coming at this from. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about the framework that needs to be incorporated into your lead magnet. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about when you are building your offer, and if you will grab that worksheet real quick, you're going to want to have that as I'm talking through it, because I'm going to hit every single one of these points in our conversation today. So the first thing that we want to talk about is what is the purpose of your lead magnet. Now, when you think about purpose, there's a couple of different ways that you're going to look at this from. So just a little bit of insight about what it should accomplish for you. If you think about how you engage with your prospects, there's something that happens in their brain as they're evaluating what they're going to do in order to fix whatever it is that's bugging them. And there are a number of psychological triggers that are happening in their mind. And everybody is all into building that trust, expertise, and authority. And that expertise and authority all fit under the authority trigger. And that trust has to do with the community trigger. And we are really good about doing that. That's just one of our natural go-tos when we think about building marketing information. We are all about creating how-to posts and demonstrating the fact that, hey, come on in, the water's fine, you can do this with me, and I'm the right person to show you how. The problem is there are other triggers that need to be addressed. And there's actually a complete episode of Business Unusual on nothing but the mental triggers that are part of the buyer journey. And I'll make sure that I link that recording in this description or the notes as well so that you can go and reference that. But it's really important that you do understand what these triggers are. Now, the lead magnet incorporates a couple of pretty important triggers that happen later in that buyer journey. And the mental triggers that are incorporated have to do with scarcity. And the other one that kind of plays into this is commitment. Now, recognize commitment is one of those things that if you think about it way back in the days of when you may have been dating, or if you are dating now, there's this moment in time where you exchange contact info, whether it's an email address or you get a phone number. And that is a commitment in your mind that says, I want to explore a relationship with this other individual. Now, what you have to think about is entering into any type of a relationship, there's a whole lot of similarities to dating that happen in the sales process. So when a prospect trusts you enough to give you their email address, they are raising their hand and saying, you know what, this is something that I need to invest some effort in, and I'm willing to allow you in my inbox so that I can actually start to understand exactly what you would do for me. So this is where all of a sudden you have now been zeroed out of this gigantic pool of potentially millions of search options that are available on the Googles, or you are showing up on LinkedIn out of hundreds of potential knowledge workers who can do what you do. And it's basically the opportunity for you to shake hands with that prospect and introduce yourself. So a lead magnet is a pretty big deal. And when you get someone to that point, you now have the opportunity to really start to build value in their process, which then leads to that reciprocity trigger. That is another one of the mental triggers. And that's where people actually start to experience what you do and feel a sense of gratitude. And that's where they start to say, hey, if I get this for free, what happens if I actually hire them to do this for me? So that's the purpose of it in the grand scheme of what a lead magnet should do for you. Now, what I want you to do right now is I want you to fill in on your worksheet and tell me what you are specifically looking to accomplish with this lead magnet. Now, some of your potential options that are going to fit under here. You can increase your conversions on leads. You can quantify the value of why someone needs to work with you now. So you can put some concrete structure around what it is that they're going to have from working with you. You can solve problems that demonstrate, again, that trust, expertise, and authority. But when you do that, I want to make sure that you also pull that scarcity trigger in there. So that, for example, you want them to recognize what every decision is costing them in a day that they decide to delay working with you. So, for example, I know I have people on my live call today that are in process improvement and productivity. Now, if you think about process improvement, everything that you do should have a minimum percentage of improvement. So, for example, if you work with manufacturers and you know that over time, your solution has resulted in a base level of improvement of 15 to 20%, then what you want to do is help that prospect recognize, and it can be more. So I do get that. But you want to go to those conservative numbers, and you want to help them recognize that every day that they delay costs them 15% in productivity of that particular process that they're focusing on in their plant. So that's one thing that you can incorporate into your lead magnet. And a lead magnet needs to be very interactive. So what you're going to want to do is really think through how can you create a worksheet or a checklist or a guide that will help someone recognize how they would engage your services. Because that's ideally what this particular stage of building your prospecting toolkit will look like. The other thing that you want to think about is how many prospects are you wanting to add into your funnel leveraging this tool. So if you think about it, any business development effort that you do, you should be looking for a concrete ROI, as in what you are going to accomplish through doing this. So if I am evaluating someone as a potential referral partner, I am specifically looking for someone that can introduce me to a minimum of 10 to 12 new clients per year, which means that they may introduce me to 2 to 3 prospects per month. So that is what I'm hoping to accomplish from any introduction that's made for me in my business. Now, you want to look at your tools and your content that you're creating in much the same way. So if you create a blog post, you need to have some numbers around what you're wanting it to actually accomplish in terms of new prospects, in terms of as a tool in order to help you better engage your audience. And most importantly, you want it to be something that is going to attract new leads and be something that's very shareable by your referral relationships. So that's what you're going to do at this moment when you're filling out this worksheet. I want you to put in what your purpose is behind what it is that you're going to focus on. So if you're listening to this as a recording, I'd like for you to pause the recording now and answer this question. Now, those that are participating live, we're going to continue on. You will have this recording on Monday, and you can take the time in order to go back in and review. But we are going to keep moving through this process, and we'll spend a little bit of time after the session wraps up today with making sure that you have enough in order to go to work on creating your lead magnet. The next question that we're going to ask is, who are you wanting to engage as a partner? So for example, I'll go back to process improvement. If you are working with a partner that could potentially be top of funnel for lead generation, for people that need to explore what lean or process improvement would do for them in their business, what you're going to want to do is you are going to want to identify what a problem is early in that process that prospect needs to solve in order to get to where they can hire you. So for example, whenever you're selling a consulting service or financial services, anything like that, it's kind of hard for prospects to wrap their head around exactly why they need to hire you now. And that's part of the reason why, as a financial advisor, you can lead in with tax reduction strategies and partner with a CPA or someone that could help navigate some of the changes that have happened. Perhaps, the employee tax credit that came about with the stimulus. Maybe that's something that you can partner with someone that would help educate your audience, and maybe your offer is going to be a webinar. The thing that you just have to be clear about is that you are leveraging that partner in order to build a relationship early so that you can demonstrate that trust, expertise, and authority over that topic, and then they're going to want to come back for more. Remember, they need to say, I can't believe this is free. What on earth do I get if I actually work with them full time or hire them in my business? So that's the experience that we are wanting to create with our partners. It's very important that you do not engage a partner that is going to turn that webinar into a sales pitch or promotion. This is not about a product demo. Your offer or lead magnet that you're creating must be something that they dive into and they really grow through the experience of working through whatever it is. So that's super important. So that does influence who it is that you are going to want to engage with that would be a potential partner. Because you and I both know that there are a lot of people that don't know how to do anything but sell on presentations. And that's okay. That may work for them. But it's not going to work as well with a lead magnet, because a lead magnet should be about creating a relationship. And relationships tend to not be formed as much during sales pitches. So, and I'm a sales coach. I get it. I'm all about sales, but I'm even more about building relationships and having people drawn to you because they want to do business with you. Because again, trust, expertise, and authority don't happen by being strong-armed or pushy or aggressive with their sales tactics. So whenever you find a partner, it's very important that you do explore and create that relationship with someone that is truly going to deliver value. So what I want you to do is think about who will your partner be, and what are the specific issues. And we're going to actually dive into that in a very specific line item on our worksheet. So then the next thing that you're going to do is determine who is your target audience. Now, when you think about creating a lead magnet, I do not want you to have a broad definition of I don't want to work with a business owner that has between 10 and 50 employees. I don't want you to do that, because if you get very broad or general in your description, then your marketing content is going to be too broad or general. So what I would like for you to do is I'd actually like for you to go into your LinkedIn connections. And I want you to specifically identify one person in there that fits that prospect profile of being someone that you know would be perfect for your solution right now. And I want you to have their profile up on your computer screen or print out their image as you're working through the exercises here so that they are front and center in your mind about who it is that you're going to work with. And that will help you be so very clear and targeted with your messaging, which is what is critically important when we talk about marketing your lead magnet just a little bit later on in our conversation today. So get super clear about exactly who that target audience is. Then I want you to tell me what their title is or what their role is within the organization. And if you're selling business to consumer, it needs to be, are they a professional? Are they a mom? Are they a husband? Are they a dad, granddad? Whatever that is, I want very specific descriptors around exactly what their role is, either in their household or in their business, or potentially, where are they at in their career? So I want a lot of clarity around that. Then the next question you're going to answer is what trigger event is happening in their life or in their business that necessitates they work with you right now. And when we think about trigger events, perhaps it is a job loss, perhaps it's a life transition, diagnosis with a critical illness. I know that many of my folks that are in the M&A space, they often encounter business owners that are now looking up and saying, I've built this business and I've invested blood, sweat, and tears, and this is my retirement. And now I'm at a point where I'd actually like to slow down and kick back and enjoy my life, whatever I have left of it. And I want to actually enjoy my grandkids and my kids. And, there's something happening in life that's precipitating this change. You want to define whatever that trigger event is that is happening in their life. And you're going to spell all of this out. Then you're going to talk specifically about the pain points that are happening. And when we're talking about pain points, there's something that's really important here that you do. So there is an exercise that I call So What? And that absolutely drives me nuts with teenagers, is whenever they give me this, so what, Mom? Why is that important? And for us, it just is. And it's kind of frustrating to talk through this and help a teenager recognize. And if you're on the call and you have teenagers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But they're always questioning why is this important for me to really focus on right now? And the answer of it just is, and I'm Mom, doesn't necessarily resonate with them. Well, it's the same way with our prospects. And it's one of those things of we can talk about the pain points that are happening in their organization at the high level, such as decreased productivity. Well, so why is that important? And I want you to ask that question 3 to 5 times to help you peel down to get to the real issue that's happening in their business. And for example, what that might look like is, so they've got decreased productivity in a particular process. Why is that an issue? Well, it's an issue because they're not as profitable as they could be. All right, how is that being impacted, or how is that impact translating across the organization? And you keep going with these questions 3 to 5 times, and then you start to get down to, well, productivity is down overall in their business, and that business leader is very frustrated because they don't know where to start and they don't know what to do, and they hate feeling helpless. They started their business probably because they didn't like feeling helpless and at the whim of an employer. So they wanted to take ownership of their destiny, and they don't like losing. So that's when you really start to get to the emotional reasons why someone needs to do something and doesn't just want to do something. And that's something that's very important, that when you think about your solution, it needs to fit under that bucket of your prospect needs it and they want it. And there's a lot of us that sell knowledge services that we may be in the need, but people don't want to go through the exercise of hiring us because it is difficult. It is painful. I mean, think about going on any type of a change initiative. You are overcoming deep-seated habits. You have baggage. You have employees that you may love and feel like they're a member of your family, and they are not on board. And you know that fighting the good fight to get them on board may be more than they want to take on. So that needs to be clearly identified in your language, is that you get them. You understand that they may be fearful or hesitant of what this is going to cost or how much of a hassle it's going to be, but it's worth it. And you need to help them recognize how it's worth it. And this is exactly what all is going to fit into your lead magnet. Because not only do you want it to engage them, you want it to help them work through those mental gates in their mind about what it's going to take in order to incorporate this solution into their life and in their business. So this language is critically important, and it needs to be their language. Okay, so that's the pain point. Now let's talk about the transformation benefits. This lead magnet, or this whatever it is that you're constructing, this prospect, your prospect, should be able to recognize why they're going to go through all of that hassle and all of the pain and all of the turmoil that they may have to embrace in order to get to the other side of dealing with their issue. So you need to help them think through what that will look like. So what I would like for you to do is think of one of your fantastic case studies, someone that you have worked with, and potentially we'll list them as a testimonial in here. But I'd like for you to just write the name down, and then what we'll do is we're going to talk a bit more about creating that story around why they did what they did, so that people can see the result and their journey through your process and recognize what it looks like to come out the other side. Transformation benefits are a wonderful way to be, it's great to illustrate it through case studies. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing that you can do is you can help people with exercises and worksheets about specific areas that they are going to be able to quantify the benefits of working with you. So that's something that you can incorporate in through here, is what would it do for you to sleep X many hours per night? And what would it look like for you to have more energy and feel better during the day? So, I mean, you want people to actually future pace and see themselves in your solution. So you want to spell out what that's going to look like. And you'll use that or use the language that your customers have shared with you about their experience in painting this picture. And then what I want you to think about is, how would you create the, again, it's just the questions that they will ask. So for example, my process helps people be a lot more effective with their networking meetings. So one of my lead magnets that I'm creating right now helps people recognize the cost of inefficient coffee meetings. So these people that are having 10 coffee meetings a week, well, I can help them recognize how that may be costing them thousands in terms of a time investment for a very fuzzy benefit that they can't really make this concrete or tangible. Why am I doing this? And I understand that those of you that are in knowledge delivery and that are paid for your knowledge, particularly if there is an hourly rate attached to that. I mean, the majority of my clients make over $200 an hour. So for them to invest 1 hour in a coffee meeting, that's a $200 investment of time alone, not to mention travel time to and from the meeting. And you take that times 10, people are investing a lot of effort in something that may not be yielding much of a reward. So it kind of makes it a little bit of a no-brainer for them to say, hey, here's a process that'll help me eliminate at least 50% of those coffee meetings that are never going to lead to revenue. And then the 50% that will lead to revenue, I can get on a clear path to get to an outcome of referring business back and forth or winning business from this contact. So that's what that's an offer that I can make that helps people recognize what the benefit of that transformation is. And I have a host of case studies of people who have said, my coffee meetings were cut in half and my productivity with coffee meetings improved by 25 to 50%. Or I went from having 17 coffee meetings a week and making $3,000 a month to having 5 coffee meetings a month and making $10,000. So I have a lot of those case studies in order to share. So that's something that you want to think about, is what can you put in there that help them recognize the benefits of that transformation. Okay, so that is what the lead magnet is. Now what we need to talk about is how are we going to communicate this? Because remember, it's about casting it out there so that you can start to attract and engage the right audience and draw them in. So what I'd like for you to do now is take just a moment, pause the recording, answer these questions, and then we're going to dive into the marketing of it. All right, now let's talk about how we are going to market your lead magnet. Now, what you could do with this is there are any number of things. You can invite people to a lunch and learn. You can invite people to attend a webinar. Perhaps you're going to offer a document that is a how-to guide or a white paper, something that is, again, it needs to be fairly in-depth and offer value to your prospect. So when you do this, what I'd like for you to do is I want you to have at least a few conversations with people that you know will benefit from using it. And I'd like for you to make sure that you get this in their hands. And then you talk through what it is that they experience from going through the exercises. So you want to have in their language what the benefits are of experiencing your lead magnet. So for example, when I deliver a webinar, my goal is to help you with each one of these sessions that you attend. I want you to improve your prospecting, and I want you to have a noticeable increase in your lead generation in the coming week. So I want something that is going to demonstrate a very quick improvement benefit. So everything that I do within these sessions, I try to either find speakers or offer content that will help you do that. Because what happens when I do that is, again, it's that reciprocity trigger. You experience benefit, and then you come back for more. Or you tell others about the experience that you've had with me. And every time you tell others, that adds prospects into my funnel. So when I do one of these sessions, on average, I am going to meet between 3 and 25 new prospects per week that end up in my funnel. They either end up there via new LinkedIn connections, via new people that register for this and end up on my email list. There are any number of ways, or there are people that reach out to me directly and say, hey, I need help with this. What can you do for me? So that's why I do these every single week, and it is highly effective at accomplishing just that purpose. So what I want you to think about is, what is something that you can do, and how are you going to introduce that? I know after doing 79 of these exactly what it is that I can deliver, and I've done it over and over and over again. I'm getting it figured out. So when I reach out to someone and invite them to attend one of these sessions, I know how to communicate what the benefits are to someone joining me for this hour-long presentation that we do. So what I'd like for you to do is have a few of these conversations with people. Have a beta group that goes through your lead magnet and then gives you their feedback. And that's how you're going to then communicate it. So I want you to communicate it to a small audience at first. Share it with a focus group. identify 5 to 7 people that fit that perfect target prospect profile, and maybe they're your current clients. Ask them for what they experience and how they find value in it. And remember, if they don't come out of it and say, I can't believe this is free, then it's not good enough. The other side of it is you don't want to give away so much that your prospects say, well, I'm good now. I don't need to hire you because you gave me so much. I got to go digest it and I got to put it to work in my life and in my business. And then I'll come back for more free stuff. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to set yourself up to always be the person who gives things away for free. So how you can do this is you can incorporate where your clients attend with your prospects at the same time. And then your clients are in the room or in the experience saying, yes, this is just the tip of what you get when you work with her. So you want to make sure that they are there stating the fact that if you take advantage of this, it's basically like you have walked into one of those all-you-can-eat buffets and you picked a bread roll off of the chow line and then you left the restaurant and that's all you got. And you didn't even get into the full entrees or the rest of the desserts or any of the other sides or the really fun stuff that you get when you go to one of those all-you-can-eat buffets. I'm a fan of the all-you-can-eat buffets, in case you haven't noticed. With 4 kids, hey, who wouldn't be? So, especially when they get to be teenagers, they started closing the chow line at Golden Corral whenever we'd show up because they knew that my kids would go straight to the dessert bar. That's what you want your lead magnet experience to be. You want people to say, wow, there's so much here. And you guys are just starting to experience the very beginning of what is here for you. So that's something else for you to think about is how can you pull this community together so that other people are continuing to sell that? So then with that, how you can deliver this as far as the marketing of your lead magnet. There are several things you can do that are ever so much fun. So first of all, this needs to be communicated in your regular emails. So remember that I'm always a fan of you sending out weekly emails, because if you're not sending out weekly emails, you are going to get lost in someone's inbox. And I have so many clients who are like, weekly's too much. I'm only sending something once a month. Well, people aren't in the habit of looking for you. So you're going to end up getting lost except for maybe every 3rd or 4th email. Well, if you're showing up weekly in someone's inbox, that's at least once a month and you're much more likely to be top of mind with them. So I encourage you to incorporate this lead magnet into what you're doing in your regular emails that you send out. So if you're sending out inspirational quotes, or you're sending out stories of where a business is out there doing something that is newsworthy and that you can help this prospect accomplish. If you're sending that out, that's fantastic. You just need to be sending them something and showing up in their inbox. And when you're sending these emails out, you also want to make sure that you share with them, hey, here is something that I've put together that I think would be of value to you. Please use it. Let me know what you think and let me know if you find it helpful. And then when you send out the email sequence, remember that if you're going to send something out, you want to design about 3 to 4 emails that are going to go out that lead up to why someone is going to want to download your lead magnet. And potentially you may do something along the lines of just sending out a couple of messages, maybe a social media post. You may not want to go into a big list effort, but if you do, then that's a wonderful strategy as well. So this concept works even if you have 1 or 2 or 10 prospects that you are sending messages to. So it may be you send out an email that is hey, have you considered this? I'm working on something that I think would be helpful for you. Are you interested in being one of my beta prospects that would look at this at whatever it is that you're putting together as a lead magnet. So whether it's a webinar or a guide or a checklist, you're basically sending them a note that says, I'm working on something. Would you take a look at it? And then once you have their acknowledgement back, then you share with them an example of, this is why I think that this is important. So you would relate an article or something that you have seen done by others, or maybe it's one of your blog posts. So you may have a blog post that is a guide on accomplishing a lean transformation initiative, 10 steps you need in order to be lean in your current processes. Well, you would say, this inspired it, and I'm going to dive in just a little bit deeper. So they would have that blog post to start thinking through in their mind, okay, yeah, this is good stuff. And then you would send another one, another email that may talk about, these are the potential obstacles. How many of these are you struggling with in your own process? And then maybe send them just a really quick survey and invite them to email you back with which of these they are most challenged by. So maybe it's they don't have enough people in order to accomplish the processes that they currently have, or their people don't have time in order to participate in any training initiatives, or maybe it's they can't justify or find budget in order to pay for it. So you would have these three options that you share with them, and you invite them to message you back with whatever their response is. And that gives you great feedback so that you can incorporate it into the obstacles that they're going to have to overcome in order to get the transformation. So you want all of this to, again, help the prospect through that buyer journey. And then the final message is going to be here is the document or the exercise or the webinar that I've put together for you. I would love your thoughts once you complete it. And then here's what's really important. You send these emails, they participate in it, then that's when the relationship building begins. Now you've got a prospect that is probably more than 2/3 of the way through the buyer journey. And now what you need to do is you need to reach out and engage with them, draw them into your funnel to begin having specific conversations about what challenges they are facing, what issues are they having to navigate through, and how can you specifically help them accomplish that. So that's super important. Your social media posts are the exact same. If you are going to launch something, remember you are going to have at least five days. So 1 week to 2 weeks needs to be your launch runway for whenever you start to promote one of these offers. So you will want to have one social media post per day. And when you do a social media post, the way that you can accomplish this is with LinkedIn. Remember, it's all about text-based posts. And you're going to want to write out what those posts need to be so that all you have to do is pull them off the page. And remember, you want the post to follow that exact same path that I just shared that you would talk about in the email. So the initial stages of the funnel, okay, there is an awareness of I've got a problem and I'm not quite sure what to do about it. So then you start into the consideration stage where it narrows a little bit more. That consideration stage is when they start to say, okay, I got a problem. I know what it is. What are my options? And then as you get farther in the funnel, now you're starting to engage with prospects who are saying, okay, yes, but. Now they've got to overcome obstacles. They've got to recognize why they're going to go through the pain of transformation. They've got to recognize what's on the other end. So this is where you pull in the case studies and the social proof. So that all can be a part of your communication strategy on your social media platform as well. Whether you're doing this on LinkedIn or Facebook, it doesn't matter. All of these, it's the overall strategy. So platform doesn't matter. The strategy remains the same and the strategy works. It's what people have been going through for millennia when they think about whether or not they're going to buy or whether or not they're going to change their behavior or do something to avoid being eaten by the predator. So that's just the way that we work. We all go through this cost-benefit analysis in our brain. And you want to make sure that your funnel of how people are going to communicate goes through that exact same process. Your blog topics, you want to do the same thing. Whether you're blogging weekly, twice a week, or daily, you need to make sure that your posts are all following that same framework. So we do not want to create random acts of content. We do want to have our lead magnet or content upgrades that are a part of our communication strategy. So think about what you would have to offer. You're going to start with your first one, and then you're going to continue to create lead magnets until you end up with an entire library of resources that you can offer to prospects that are of different size, going through different stages in their life or their business, navigating different obstacles, that you are the common solution for wherever they fit. So we have covered a lot of ground. Do reach out to me with questions. Make comments at the bottom of this recording and let me know where you may be getting stuck, where you'd like some additional help, and feel free to share with me what your lead magnet is that you end up creating, because I would be delighted to see what you come up with based on our conversation today. And if you need any more help with putting this together, make sure that you reach out. My email is in the comments, and I am delighted to welcome you into the ongoing conversation that we have every week on Business Unusual. Thanks for your time, and remember, you can get anything you want in the world as long as you help enough other people get what they want. Can't wait to see what you do this week. Take care and good selling.